Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Fish Bytes, the Miami Herald's Miami Marlins podcast. I'm Jordan McPherson. He's Andre Fernandez. Dre, how are you?
I'm good. I'm staring at your background, and I'm sure new people that check us out on YouTube are right now and seeing a rare sight that happens once, maybe twice out of 81.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Again, we had an open roof this weekend for one day. Again, one day. And I'll say it one more time just to emphasize the point. One day.
We could be heroes just for one day. Yeah, just that one time. And we'll see. I mean, maybe I know the windows will stay open here and there, but
yeah, the windows were open. Yeah, last year they had the roof open twice and the windows about 5 or 6 times. And then once you get into the summer, it's basically on lockdown until maybe if Mother Nature is nice enough in September to not have a 30% or higher chance of rain.
Good luck with that one.
Yeah. So we're at the end of our window for the open roof at this point already in mid-May. In fact, we got it once, and it was a great night when we got it on Friday. Yes, I'm already losing track of my days here. Yeah, it was.
They only scored a run, so who cares? It's not helping, so close it.
There you go. Yeah, but on the bigger note, Marlins just finished up their weekend series against the Brewers. They lost 2 of 3, but record aside, some injury news on the rotation on Sunday. Jesus Luzardo was placed on the 15-day IL. It was left forearm strain was the terminology they gave, right, Andre?
Yes. It's basically not that he felt pain when he was throwing or anything like that. It's more of he said that after the 2 previous starts, it started in San Diego and then a little bit too with Arizona, it kind of didn't bounce back well and it was sore. So it's one of those things where, and I don't blame him considering the injury history with him. He kind of wants to make sure it's nothing, and so does the team, because he has been doing well. I mean, that's part of the whole thing, is that he has been a lot better than last year. You know, aside from one blip here or there, overall he's been generally better, and you want to keep that at the back end of your rotation in the long run. So considering here's a guy who had Tommy John in high school when he was at Douglas High, I don't blame him for wanting to be cautious with this. They didn't sound too alarmed. I mean, sometimes they don't, and it does end up prolonging a little bit, so you never know. But I don't think this would be something where he's out for a long time. But you know how it is. In general, you shut a pitcher down for this period. If it's like, it looks like he would be back around May 26th, not that bad. But if it draws out a little bit more than they're expecting, then you're looking at, then he's got to, warm back up, maybe a rehab start sort of thing. If you get into that territory, then you're talking a little more of a problem, because prolonged absence is what you don't want on that backside of the rotation right now.
And remember, now starting, I think it began May 2nd when they moved the roster down from 28 to 26. They finally enacted the rule where it's pitchers and two-way players. They're on the IL for a minimum of 15 days, not 10 days.
Right.
It was supposed to be a rule that went into effect in 2020, and then a little pandemic called COVID-19 happened, and MLB decided to hold off until things were somewhat back to normal to enact that rule. But now it's 15 days, not the 10 days that we've been accustomed to. So there is a little bit of a longer period there, but luckily on the Marlins side, they have 3 off days over the next 11 days. So they are able to play around with their rotation. They could, for the most part, get away with their main 4 guys who they have at this point, with Sandy, Pablo, Trevor, and then Eliezer Hernandez. Yes, I have to include Eliezer Hernandez as part of that main 4 for this point, because, and we'll talk about this as we go, as much as he has struggled this year, if you did end up trying to send him down to bring somebody else up, now that's 2 spots that you need to worry about, not just the 1. If Jesus Luzardo was still up here and Eliezer Hernandez was continuing his scuffle that he's had throughout this first 7 starts, yes, there's warrants a conversation of maybe either move him into the bullpen to be a long reliever or just send him down to AAA and bring up another guy. But with 2 spots that you would have to worry about at that point, that kind of makes his spot secondary at this point in terms compared to having to round out the full rotation now.
Well, and not only that, but they didn't sound like they're going to do it. They're going to give Eliezer the hook anytime soon. In fact, Don Mattingly sounded like they're seeing bits of progress there, which I know is hard to see because you look at the results. And talking to Eliezer after, he felt like there's areas that he has improved, but again, it's just the way the game is. you make 2 bad pitches and they burn you for it, and then your whole start looks like crap. And that's been happening to him. Even yesterday, I would say that's what happened to him. The defense didn't help either, because yesterday, uncharacteristically, 2 errors that early on in key spots led the runs. I mean, ironically, it was the lowest earned run total he'd had since back in April, since his second start. So it doesn't look like it on the surface, but it actually was a slightly better start for him. To me, the problem is his durability in a game, because again, this is the second time I've seen him where he looks fine, solid enough for 3-4 innings, but once it gets to that 5th, more or less,
the third time
the wheels fall off. Yeah, I mean, you can point to the error yesterday contributing to that, but he didn't need to give up back-to-back home runs. I'm sorry, and that's where the problem is him lasting longer into that 5th, 6th inning, the third time around. I mean, and that's an issue. That's an issue that they're going to have to address. He's going to have to address, and if it doesn't get any better anytime soon, I know they want to stick with him, and he has been better in the past, but that's an ongoing problem at that spot in the rotation for sure. And then that you're going to have to address it at some point. The problem too, and then you kind of gave the prelude to that. Not really any options right now. Not a lot of options right now on who you drop into that spot, especially if Luzardo's out for a while. I mean, people clamoring for Max Meyer, but didn't exactly have his best outing. And even if he had his best outing, do you want to rush him up just because? I don't know. I don't know if it's not time. I don't know if it's time yet necessarily right now, right this second, to bring him up. And then Edward Cabrera still kind of getting there, but another guy with a lot of injury, very injury prone, that you have to be sure when you bring him up. And his last outing wasn't exactly great in the minors either. So.
Yeah, and the other guys that you have in the minors, Braxton Garrett and Jordan Holloway, your other guys who are on the 40-man, they're both on the minor league IL at this point. Braxton Garrett just started throwing bullpen sessions over the weekend. Jordan Holloway still isn't at that point yet. So at this point, in terms of guys who are on the 40-man or on the active roster, at least in the short term, it's looking like one of Cody Cote or Dan Castano is going to fill that void in the Luzardo spot. The Marlins, luckily, having that off day after Arizona, they're able to move Sandy Alcantara up. He started Monday, and now the TBD spot is going to be Tuesday. And it's looking like it would make sense for them to just slide Cody Cote up there, because again, he's been their long relief guy. He threw 4 innings on last week Tuesday after Luzardo's last start, when Luzardo only went 2 2/3. So he's pitched for length a few times this year. He's been pretty good out of the pen. Only 1 earned run allowed, and I think it was 16 1/3 innings, a .55 ERA or something along those lines. So for a day or a start or 2, I feel like Cody Cote can help you bridge the gap until Luzardo's return. And then you got Daniel Castano waiting in the wings in AAA if you want a lefty option to replace the lefty. Yeah. So you have those 2 options, and then like you mentioned with Max Meyer and Edward Cabrera, you also have to think about the time frame. Max last pitched on Wednesday, which Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, he would be in line. But again, after going off of a game where he gave up 6 runs and 3 home runs in 5 innings, his first start of the year, I wouldn't bring him up at this point. I wouldn't bring him up when his confidence may not be at his highest. Edward Cabrera last pitched on Saturday. He's paid to pitch on Friday. And again, he still hasn't gone up longer than 5 innings in AAA since recovering from the right bicep muscle fatigue injury. I have to spell it out every time, so I always feel like I'm going to misphrase it. But he's paid to go Friday. He would be on short rest if he got called up now. So it's a matter of take your short-term solution, more than likely Cody Cote on Tuesday, and then the next start there would be Sunday, the last game of the homestand. Yeah. Gives you 6 days to give you 5-6 days to evaluate where things stand. Or actually, that person wouldn't have to start until Tuesday because you have an off day in between the Nationals and the Braves. They
said that they don't think, assuming Luzardo's not out longer than they think, only 1 turn in the rotation is really what absolutely would have to be filled. Yeah. So if that is the case, why do you bring? I mean, to me, it's like I don't think that's the Max Meyer spot, because why are you going to bring him up to then what do you do with him once everybody's back? You know what I mean? And unless you punt on Eliezer at some point, but it doesn't sound, at least outwardly, it doesn't sound like they're ready to do that just yet. In fact, I mean, the way they made it sound like he was incrementally making some progress. They haven't lost total hope. And yeah, they may eventually if his struggles continue. But I mean, people will be listening to this Tuesday morning, and if Max Meyer is the call, we're going to be like, well, you guys were wrong. But hey, what did I put it past them? Absolutely not. But I don't think I agree with you. I don't think it's the right time right now. But to me, the rotation, yes, it's easy to talk about. It's definitely topical. But if this team doesn't hit or score, I should say, and hit timely, it doesn't matter what five are out there, because it's going to be hard. Wins are going to be hard to come by no matter what. And that worries me too, because this, from seeing a couple of games already and covering them, you have glaring holes right now in this lineup. I mean, and some of it is injuries. Some of it is Joey Wendell's absence is very much felt right now. But if Garcia continues to struggle, Soler hit a home run, but yeah, we know he can do that. It's all the other at-bats. You know, unfortunately, Miggy's off to a slow start at the plate too. So, you know, unless some of those bats come around, this is not a lot. And then if you bench Jazz when you do, then you're really clipping the wings off, because at that point you're really asking a lot out of what's left to really muster, you know, enough runs to beat a team like the Brewers, let's say.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, this team, it's basically their offense either comes out all at once or it doesn't come at all. We saw that during the Brewer series. You look at the game on Saturday, they hit 3 home runs in an inning. They had another 4-run inning. It's either you'll see them score 3, 4, 5, 6 runs all at once, or they'll struggle to trickle 1 or 2 across. The consistency is not there, and really they only had a few guys who have been consistently hitting. Jazz, as you mentioned, 288 average, 904 OPS. Jesus Aguilar's hitting over 300 so far in the month of May. He's hitting 263 on the season. Both of them, they have 41 of the team's RBI between the two of them, 27 runs scored between the two of them. And then everybody else, Garrett Cooper's hitting 255. None of their other regulars are hitting above 211. Obviously, Joey Wendell will be included in there once he gets back up to qualifying for play appearances. He's excluded in the MLB list. But as of right now, your guys who are qualified hitters, Avisail Garcia hitting 211 on the year. Jesus Sanchez, after that great start, he's hitting under 100 in May right now, which I'm not sure if that's just a matter of him still continuing to adjust to his first full season, or the fact that, again, he's playing center field every day because they really don't have someone else to replace him in center field when he needs a day off. Again, as you mentioned with Miguel Rojas, he's hitting 190 on the season. And whether it's him focusing more on the defense or, again, he has a lot of personal stuff going on, as we talked about from what happened throughout his offseason. Not sure how much of that's still lingering and coming to the field with him, but there definitely are some off-the-field factors that are coming into effect here. And Jorge Soler is hitting 188 this year, 7 home runs, which are nice, but 40 strikeouts over about 140 plate appearances. That's not going to cut it.
Yeah, I mean, and with Sanchez, he's still developing. I mean, these are guys that are realistically just still taking kind of like the first steps in the majors. I know they've already played, but you need a pretty good amount of experience before you can kind of say, okay, this guy, he's a mainstay. You know what I mean? Like, so again, all that it's not a lineup that's just stacked top to bottom where, you know, you can somewhere some of these guys have to figure out a way to right the ship, because if not, you know, I'm telling you, again, glaring holes, and you're seeing it when they're scoring 1, 2, maybe 3 at most. You know, even yesterday, you thought maybe. I mean, you had Eliezer. You're wondering. It's like, is the dam gonna break at some point with him? But when you're up 3-1 going into the 5th inning, you don't feel that bad. You think, okay, maybe hang on, keep it maybe one more inning, then we turn it to the pen. And then unfortunately, what happened? But that's the whole thing, though. When that happens, it's like you don't have the horses to respond to that the way that this lineup is constructed right now.
Yeah, and again, with 2 of their main guys, Joey Wendell, again, to pull up the full numbers, Joey Wendell hitting 304, and he's out with a hamstring injury. John Birdie hitting 300. He's still, to my knowledge, he's still either stuck in San Diego while dealing with that quote-unquote undisclosed injury, or he's still in the part where regardless, he still hasn't been cleared to the point where he's still on the IL.
Regardless, his bat is not in the lineup, and that hurts.
And now, luckily, they've gotten Brian Anderson back, who's been on a groove as of late. He's hitting 260, 797 OPS for the season.
Right.
But he was on, I think it was about a 14-game on-base streak before everything. And then it's been solid since he returned. But this is also the thing where they have two main guys not in their lineup right now, and one to one birdie, and you're seeing the residual effect completely by not having the guys to replace them to the point where
they can't execute the strategy that they wanted throughout this was the makeup of this team, was going to be the MO of this team, the matching up, and got arguably your two most versatile players, or close to that if not, are out right now. So it's totally throwing a wrench into what you ideally want to do.
Yeah, and now we'll see how that plays out. The Marlins have 6 more games at home on this 3-team 9-game homestand, playing the Nationals Monday to Wednesday, have an off day Thursday, and then get to host the Atlanta Braves Friday through Sunday, where if everything goes the way it's looking like, the Marlins might get their first chance to see Ronald Acuna Jr. this year. So I guess I'll have to have my pre-write ready.
Yeah, by first pitch. It's always a interesting first pitch, so be ready for sure.
Yep, but it's your chance for the NL against the NL East, which again at this point, let me actually pull up the full standings to make sure I'm not factually incorrect.
We know the Mets have been in cruise mode. Maybe not cruise mode, but they have a little bit of a cushion right now.
Yeah, so they're in as close to cruise mode as you can be, and also the Marlins still don't face them for another month for the first time. If my computer there we go. My computer finally decided to load everything. The Mets heading into Monday. The Mets 23-13, 5.5 games above second place Philly, who is 17-18. So again, the Mets are the only team above 500 in the East right now. And then you have
second best in New York.
Yeah, I knew you were going to do something like that. And then Philly, Atlanta, and Miami, all 3 within a game and a half of each other. So again, the Marlins, when they face Atlanta, especially this weekend, and obviously they took 3 already against Washington on that road trip to start the year. They went 2-1 against Atlanta in Atlanta, and they've had a good record against Philly so far. If they can control what they can in the East and at least make themselves competitive in that cluster for second place, But I know where the butt's going, and I want you to say.
Okay.
I want you to say.
That's nice, but if you click on the button that shows the league-wide top to bottom, what are they now? 10th out of 15?
They're somewhere around there.
They're somewhere in that 9 through 11 range. I know that.
Yeah.
There's only about 4 teams that are way worse than they are right now. And so, one is the Reds. The Reds are a doormat, and there's a few teams, but their point is, while you look that up, it's important.
There are 4 teams below them: the Pirates, the Cubs, the Nationals, and the Reds.
In the end, the wild card picture, let's say
4 games out of the wild card. Again, you have the third wild card,
and not just 4 out, but multiple teams ahead, which makes it all sorts of complicated and much harder to overcome. And the more and more you slump the way it's going right now, because in general it's been trending in the wrong direction since the long winning streak, the more and more you're going to get buried. So at some point they got to find a way to they will get healthier, but it's important to be able to stay in the picture if they really do want to try and make a run at this. I mean, this is why it's still, for people that say win now, we knew it was going to be complicated this year to think that early that they could, but you just hope to see. At least me, I hope to see improvement, like noticeable improvement, not a 65-win team, but to say that they're right there on the cusp of really contending yet, they're not there yet. I mean, in general, unless something crazy happens later on.
Yeah, that's normally.
There's still a lot of developing pieces, is why.
Correct, and that's normally something crazy happening seems to define the Marlins' path to playoffs. I mean,
right.
You look back, you saw how they did getting there in year 5 in '97, which that team was honored on Saturday. Just had to throw that back out there. Getting to actually catch up and actually, on my end, actually meet a lot of those guys for the first time was actually a pretty cool experience. Getting to actually get to see Kerry Sheffield, getting to see Jordan Hernandez, getting to talk to Jim Leland. That was a lot of fun to be able to chat with him.
I'm sure.
Yeah. And then obviously they make in 03 the craziness that happened in that 2020 year to get into the wild card after everything that happened.
16 and 28, I think, or 16 and 29, something like that. And then all of a sudden it took off with Jack McKeon.
Exactly. Yeah. So
and then COVID.
And then the COVID year. And then the COVID year where, again, you just think after the outbreak happens, you go, well, okay, the season's done before it started. And then, again, 60-game sprint, I know. But the fact that they were still able to get in there after everything that happened, again, we're a month and a half into the season. Once we get closer to mid-June, about a month from now, we'll have the better understanding of if they're going to be able to claw their way up, or if they're going to be that team sitting there toward the bottom and then figuring out what parts they ship off in July.
Unless this franchise progresses toward a playoff berth or a true contention for a playoff berth by 2023, let's say, that COVID year is a blip.
Yes.
And will remain a blip.
Yes.
I'm sorry. To me, it's like forgotten by next year if they're not at the point where you can realistically look at the team and say this is not say championship, but maybe at least a playoff contender.
Right.
And right now, they're better, but they're not there yet. At least the way it's constructed, and I don't even know if it will be once all the if and when they are able to get healthy enough where all the pieces are there. We'll see. They could be buried, far out of the picture by then. Who knows?
Yeah. And on that note, let's switch over to some of the minor league stuff. Our usual weekly minor league update. And with one of those guys who may very well be part of that future picture in that future rotation, 19-year-old Yuri Perez stringing some starts together now. His latest one on Friday, 9 strikeouts, 5 in the third innings, gave up two runs on 2 hits and 1 walk. 3 consecutive starts over his last 3 starts now. 27 Ks, just 4 earned runs allowed over 16 innings. 2.25 ERA for a 19-year-old playing in the AA level after having his first 3 or 4 starts that were rough, acclimation period. Again, 18 going on 19, facing AA competition, which when you're at that point, you're potentially facing guys who could potentially be closing in on making the big leagues. For a 19-year-old kid to be doing what he did his last 3 and to see the consistency start to come there and be reminiscent of what we saw from him all of 2021 when he burst onto the scene, to me, this is a good sign. And again, it's 3 consecutive starts that we've seen this now, not just one start where he does well, then he has an off day, then another great one, not teetering back and forth. You're starting to see the consistency out of him as he starts to get more comfortable in AA.
Can I just say that the fact that, and obviously it was an obvious mention since they played them, but the fact that you got, I want to say bravo to you for getting the Rocket City Trash Pandas mentioned in your minor league notebook today. Bravo.
One of the many, many incredible minor league baseball team names.
I'm upset that because everything is going on right now in the sports world and things are chaotic with the Heat and the Panthers and the Marlins and the Dolphins off season, et cetera, et cetera. I couldn't make it up to Pensacola to watch a game between them, but someday.
Yeah. Spoiler: Trash Pandas are raccoons, but it's a lot cooler to say Trash Pandas.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And check out the mascot online, people, if you have not. It's pretty funny. Like many logos. I'm sorry, not just the mascot around minor league baseball. But anyway, as you were talking about before, I mean that's the key always. The consistency of starts, the effectiveness of the pitches. I mean, yes, you want to see good results, but that developmental stage that he's going on, it is good to see, and I think that's the key. I mean, I think that at every level, and right now it's good to see him doing it at that point, and let's see how he can build, because there's a lot of upside with him, and sky's the limit if he can, if especially like always, if the velo's nice on the fastball, but if the secondary stuff is there, wow, he could be fun to watch down the road.
Yeah, definitely can. The few other guys to give some quick updates on: Khalil Watson had hits in 5 of the 6 games last week, 333 batting average, 927 OPS over that week, 2 doubles, a home run, 4 stolen bases, 7 runs scored for single A Jacksonville. First game of the week, hit a home run, hit a double, hit a single, just missed the cycle. Also staying in Single A, Ian Lewis, who started the year in extended spring, was dealing with some personal stuff early on during that first month. He made his Jupiter debut for this season this week. Hit a casual 588. He was 10 for 17 through his first 5 games. 4 RBI, 2 runs scored. Casual 588.
I love that.
Yeah. Again, 10 for 17, 1 double. Again,
I'll wake up and hit 500.
Yeah. And he also had one of his good old buddies in Jazz Chisholm Jr. show up to watch a game on the Marlins off day when they came back from Phoenix.
Yeah.
Again, the good old Bahamian, brotherhood there.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad again, Lewis. That's good to see. And again, hopefully, it was a strong week, but build off of that and keep it going. Here's a kid with again a lot of that athletic ability they like in the infield, and if the bat continues to come around, again, that's someone to keep an eye on. Still in the lower end of the minors for now, but building up. It'd be great to see. Could add to some depth at those middle spots, which are always a premium.
Yeah, and then 2 hitters up in Double-A. Gerard Carnaccion continues to be dominant. So far through the month of May, he's hitting 366, 15 for 41, 2 home runs, 7 RBI, 10 runs scored. And Griffin Conine finally starting to get things going. This month, he's hitting 351, 13 for 37, 3 home runs, 2 doubles, a triple, 11 ribbies, 8 runs scored. Strikeouts are also considerably lower. I don't have the exact numbers on me at the moment. I will pull them up, but
I was thinking that. I was like, the 13 for 37 looks good, but is that the 24 in the middle? Are there not a lot of Ks in there?
Pulling up the exact numbers now, but again, to be able to see things, to see the contact is also for me at the very minimum. Yes. Even if there are some strikeouts still mixed in there, there's always going to be strikeouts mixed in there with Griffin Conine, as long as if he finds a way to keep it under that 40% that it's been for the past year and a half.
Yeah, not absurd.
I'll take the progress there.
Right, and both of those guys, that's kind of the tools, how it plays out for them. They're that sort of. You're always by nature. That's kind of the all or nothing a little bit, but you don't want it to be to that extreme either, where it's hurting you in a lineup as well. So that's good to see.
Yep. All right, pulling the numbers up now for the month of May. It looks like 14 strikeouts in about 45 play appearances. So it's hovering around the 30%. It's right around the 32, 33% mark, which still high, but not as high.
Still high, but a little better. Okay. Yeah, it's something I keep.
Yeah, I'll take the progress there.
Right. Exactly.
Yep. And I think that's going to do it for us this week, Dre.
Yeah. Short and sweet. I mean, again, 97 was a blast to see. Not just a blast, but let me say it was cool. The ambiance of the ballpark. When they've done this before, but I like when they put the image of the old scoreboard from. I wouldn't want Dolphin Stadium back necessarily. Too many memories of annoying, long as hell rain delays. But I do like the memory of the scoreboard, at least the image of it there, and the '90s soundtrack, my friend.
Yes.
Let's just say I was jamming it up a little bit up there. So,
yeah. What was the softball game like? You were there Sunday for the softball game.
It was funny because the legends of the team played. They gave a chance to a lot of staff from that year to play too. It was after like the first 2 innings, I was looking up. Every time I'd look up at the scoreboard, I'd be like, "Who?" It'd be like this guy or that guy, like names I've never heard of. I was like, "Okay, I guess I'm being nice to some of them on there." But the moment had to be Alfonseca's rip, and then he does a little dance at second base. He's a funny guy. He's always been a character, even going back in the day of the late '90s. So, but all in all, it was cool to see not just that, but I think the guest list was cool that they got Kerry Sheffield to come out. Because there's some of like the regulars that they've had over the years when they've hit anniversary milestones. But that's cool when you can get a guy, when you get one of the premier players, not just on that team, but just in general, like in Major League history like that to show up. That's cool. Yeah,
definitely was. And you got to mention Kerry Sheffield, the last hit of the softball game, being able him pinch hitting and then somebody running for him to end the game. And again, I got
Sheffield that swing. I'm always loved this swing with the little.
Yep. Yep, the swing was great. Again, just being able for everyone to be able to reflect on that. And again, that was a little bit before my baseball time, as I've made Andre shake his head multiple times as we brought it up. Again, I was 2 going on 3 when they won that World Series. I remember 03. I remember the 03 World Series. I obviously 97 was a little bit early on my end. But
I was in my freshman year at Miami-Dade. I had graduated high school just months earlier, so
it was still it was cool to be able to experience all of that, be able to actually talk with a lot of these guys and just watch how they reminisce about everything, and all of them talking about it as if it happened literally the day before, not 25 years ago. And just when everyone was there and you saw just the look on everyone's face when a lot of the guys who, some of them hadn't seen each other in a while, and then you just see them all just come back and be like they were sitting there drinking beers a couple days earlier and just catching up on the good times.
And guys probably hung out on the weekend too, beyond just the ballpark stuff. Obviously, that's cool. You know what I mean? I thought that's stuff you'd never forget, and it can just come back to you like that. So that's cool. That's cool when you get that opportunity.
Definitely. And on that note, that's going to wrap up this week's episode of Fish Bytes. Thanks so much for tuning in. He's Andre. I'm Jordan. We'll be back again next week.